Good afternoon, Trinidad and Tobago. I am Rishi Harinanan. This is the C News Live Report at noon.
And I'm Nasira Mohammed with sport.
We start with some sad news. Historian and author Angelo Bissessarsingh has died. C News understands he passed away this morning at his home. He was 34 years old. He had been ailing for some time now. In 2015, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Bissessarsingh published several books over the years, including A Walk Back in Time, Snapshots of the History of Trinidad and Tobago. He was the founder of the Virtual Museum of Trinidad and Tobago and has been lauded by many as a guardian of the country's history. In 2016, he received the Hummingbird Gold Medal for his loyal and devoted service to Trinidad and Tobago in the sphere of history and education. He was also presented with the keys to the city of San Fernando in 2016 by President Anthony Carmona and former Mayor Kazim Hossain. Now, tributes have started to come in for the historian. His uncle-in-law, Professor John Laguerre, remembers him as an extraordinary young man determined to uncover the history of Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, I must say he was an exemplary young man who blazed a trail in local historiography, and my hope is that he would be a source of inspiration to coming young people who should be interested in how we reached where we are at the moment, and who will contribute substantially to the historiography of Trinidad and Tobago.
Professor Laguerre, as a font of knowledge for the gifted Bissessarsingh, encouraged him from an early age to pursue the historical threads of this nation.
I knew him from the time he was a secondary school student and tried to encourage him to write about history, the historical episodes in Trinidad and about the people of Trinidad, because that is the way we are going to forge national unity, when we know about one another and the trajectories through which we have all been. Yes, I do miss him. And what I would like to see is that young people like himself, should be eager to try to fill his shoes and to carry on what he was doing.
The professor said that this country needs persons like his nephew to bring a united approach to problems, to build national accord through simply growing to know each other through historical and other ties. Meanwhile, opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar says she shares the hope of his father that Angelo's consciousness will live on and that he will never die. She said Angelo's immortality is ensured through the work he has done in creating the Virtual Museum of Trinidad and Tobago, his many books about us as a people, and his writings in the press. She said Angelo's wit and charming smile brought joy to everyone who interacted with him, and he will truly be missed. To some other news now, a 9-year-old Mayaro schoolboy was beaten and ended up in hospital on Wednesday. C News understands Tristan Can was on the playground at the Mayaro Government Primary School when he was attacked by a classmate. He was reportedly kicked and cuffed on the ground. He suffered a broken hand. He will undergo surgery to repair the broken hand. And we will have more on this story this afternoon. One man is nursing gunshot wounds following a shooting incident in Tobago on Wednesday. According to police reports, at around 9:10 p.m., the victim, Kursan Dupardine of Old Ground Trace Golden Lane, was at home when he heard the dogs barking and someone calling out to him. He went outside and was greeted by someone with a gun. Several shots were fired behind him and the person fled the scene. Dupardine told police he felt a burning sensation in the buttocks and leg and realized he was bleeding. He was taken to the Scarborough General Hospital, where he's been listed in a stable condition under police guard. Investigations into this incident continue. 28-year-old Kelvin Lewis is expected to appear before an Arima magistrate at 1 p.m. He was charged with causing the deaths of Carla Collins and her 2 young children, Kamani and Kamari. The 3 were killed last week when the car Lewis was driving ran into theirs at the Mausaka intersection. The acting senior superintendent of the Northern Division, MacDonald Jacob, confirmed at the police press briefing on Wednesday the man was charged in connection with the incident.
Death by dangerous driving, breach of the traffic right, and breach of the use of the PBR.
Community activist Pastor Clive Doughton is asking the people of this country not to lose courage and hope when it comes to dealing with crime.
We have to get out of our state of denial. The criminals are in charge of huge chunks of our nation, and therefore the government and the opposition, they have to play catch up. Enough of this political adversarial garbage You must have the marbles. I wouldn't use another word that starts with B. You must have the marbles, all right, to take back the country.
Referencing the murders of Shannon Banfield, Rachel Ramkey-Soon and Nadia Sims, Pastor Dottin questioned where are the men to protect the girls. He went on to make a plea to fathers to take some responsibility.
And I'm saying to fathers this morning, no amount of excuses about the mother don't want to play a role, all right? I'm saying to you fathers, and I'm pointing my fingers straight at you, that you have a role to play to defend. Even though you and the mother are not together or not having a nice time, it is your role, all right, to help protect our sons and daughters because...
You're watching the C News Live report at noon. Remember, you can keep up to date with all the latest news on our website at ctvtt.com, or you can check out our Facebook and Twitter pages at C News Live. Police officials in Tobago were called to the scene of a robbery that took place at Burnett Street in Scarborough earlier today. According to reports, the burglars attempted to rob Kerr's Jewelers, causing the owner to jump through the window of his store for safety. We will have more details on this as it comes to hand. The opposition and its leader may be in for some surprises tomorrow at Parliament, so says Communications and Public Administration Minister Maxi Coffey. After months of gridlock, the government finally conceded in January to the opposition's demand and sent the FATCA bill to the Joint Select Committee. The committee had a February 3rd deadline to report back to the House. Finance Minister Com Imbert in January signaled that when the JSC report comes to the House of Representatives, government will be taking the bill to the vote in order to allow debate in the Senate in time to meet the February 28th deadline for passage, which was set by the U.S. Treasury. This morning, Communications Minister Maxi Coffey said that we should be sure to look out for Friday's sitting of the Parliament, as the debate is expected to debunk many of the opposition's argument. To some other news now, U.S. House of Representatives member for New York's 9th Congressional District, Yvette Clarke, says she is concerned that President Donald Trump's executive order temporarily banning travelers from 7 Muslim-majority nations could soon expand to persons living in the Caribbean. Speaking during a recent emergency meeting with her constituents in New York, Clarke said the ban could impact the large Muslim population in Guyana, Trinidad, Jamaica, and other Caribbean islands.
I am concerned, as I stated earlier, that Donald Trump has identified 7 nations so far. I'm concerned that he could expand that if we don't organize and push back now. We know that in the Caribbean region, there's a very healthy Muslim population from Guyana to Trinidad to Jamaica across the board. And so we have common cause as a people.
The U.S. lawmaker, who is the daughter of Jamaican immigrants, said she would do everything in her power to oppose the executive order.
Common cause across the board, across this nation. People are coming together, notwithstanding their religion, their background, or ethnicity. People are fed up already. It's only been 10 days, and we're finished. We're done. We're through. Dump Trump. Dump Trump. Dump Trump. Dump Trump.
Malcolm Nance, a MSNBC terrorism analyst, noted during a segment that aired on Saturday that Trinidad and Tobago have more terrorists than the 7 Muslim-majority countries banned by Mr. Trump. Trinidad and Tobago's government dismissed Nance's claims and added that the U.S. and Trinidad have unified security operations. Now for a look at the weather forecast.
The dry season is here, but there's lots of moisture around. We could be seeing a few showers scattered across both Trinidad and Tobago. Otherwise, look for cloud to end of the day. It'll feel pleasant at 29 to 32 degrees Celsius. And for those of you heading out, there'll be more moisture around later this evening and into Friday. For mariners and seabathers, watch out for choppy to rough seas under the strong winds. Easterly breezes of 20 knots will whip the waves from 2.5 to 3.5 meters through the Atlantic, with easterly swells lengthening from 8 to 10 seconds. Tide is low at 2 p.m., then high at 8 p.m. That is the latest weather, and I am Georgia Steele Wallace.
The Northwest Regional Health Authority says the County Medical Officer of Health Office located at number 81 Eastern Main Road, Barataria will be closed on Friday, 3rd February 2017 at 11 a.m. to facilitate the spraying of the premises. Normal operations will resume at 8 a.m. on Monday, 6th February 2017. The NWRHA says this has become necessary to ensure that it continues to provide a safe and comfortable environment for all. WASA customers in parts of Point Fortin and Lebre served by the Point Fortin desalination plant is advised that there is an interruption in their pipe-borne water supply at this time. It started at 9 a.m. and will go until 2 p.m. This is due to electrical maintenance works which is being carried out by TN Tech at the Point Fortin substation. The areas affected include Egypt Village, Salazar Trace, Gonzales, Lot 10, New Village, Reservoir Hill, Clifton Hill, Point Fortin proper, Vance River, Fanny Village and Vessany. Trinidad and Tobago has been ranked as one of the top 10 most toxic countries in the world. The data was compiled and cross-referenced to take into account a number of factors, including the number of deaths caused by air pollution and overall carbon dioxide emissions. The results are intended to be an indication of the dangers to the environment and population of the 135 countries involved in the study. The map shows that Middle Eastern oil-rich countries dominate the top 10 spaces on the list. Saudi Arabia is recorded as being the most toxic, with the highest recorded air pollution on the list. The UK ranks 81st for toxicity, behind countries such as Germany and the United States. However, it is listed as having the 37th highest carbon dioxide emissions. There's some Carnival news now, and Calypso icon Robert Nelson, or Lord Nelson, says the form of soca music has changed and that soca music now is different than what it used to be. He was speaking to C News when he made the comment.
It has to be rearranged. The stories are not there for outsiders, many, to understand. The lyrics are not there like in storytelling times, because one artist could come off, another one goes back on, and you can't miss what happened or know what's coming on again. Like little things like if you come from 1 to 4, you in. And if you say, well, anybody from Grenada say yay. And anybody from Tobago say yay, yay. That's the new form of what's going on.
And you can tune in for the full story by Sherilyn Lewis in the C News report at 7 o'clock. Now, the TT Film Festival's 2017 Carnival film series is to run from the 5th to the 11th of February this year. The series features vintage films that take a look at Carnival from all angles. Sonia Gray spoke to the festival's Director of Community Development about the project.
This year, the Carnival film series is taking a look back at Carnival's past with 3 feature-length films.
Okay, so Bacchanal Time is a hilarious comedy starring Crazy, Calypso Rose, Stork St. Hill, Kamalo Dean plays one of the lead characters, Gregory Ballantyne, and it's set in 1973. So you get a really good sense of Trinidad in the 1970s because it's set where 2 stick fighters from Icacos are trying to get to the stick fighting competition in Skinner Park, and all of the shenanigans and mishaps that happen along the way.
Horace Ovey is a trainee British filmmaker who has become the leading black independent filmmaker in the United Kingdom. He's also the first black British man to direct a feature-length film. His film King Carnival was shot around Carnival 1973.
This is almost like a kind of very critical commentary, almost academic commentary about Carnival. It's been acclaimed as the most comprehensive film treatise on Carnival to date.
And then for the first time, the Brazilian film Black Orpheus is to be screened. Usually the selection committee picks films made about Trinidad Carnival.
We thought that Black Orpheus was a very relevant and appropriate choice because it's set in the favelas of Rio de Janeiro. I think it speaks a lot about some of the social issues that we are having here.
Some of these films aren't widely known. King Carnival was made for the BBC, and Marshall Camus directed Black Orpheus in 1959. I asked Melvina what she thought about repeating films. She said they want to think about their audiences and expose them to as many great films as possible.
I think what has also happened is that a lot of these films have been shown by the filmmakers themselves, because they are now taking the initiative themselves to show it. If there's a fundraiser, you know, like the Calypso Rose Lioness of the Jungle has been shown several times and repeatedly. No Soca, No Life, Kevin Adams, you know.
Bacchanal Time will be screened Saturday the 4th of February at Constantine Park in Macoya, and Black Orpheus at the Big Black Box in Woodbrook on the 7th of February. King Carnival will be shown at the Nallis Amphitheatre February 11th. After that screening, a panel discussion is to take place featuring Dr. Hollis Liverpool and Ray Funk, moderated by Tony Hall. Soini Gray, C News.
Thank you very much, Soini. And from Soini, we go to Nasira. Nasira, football action. The new women's coach hit the ground running.
Certainly did. She's here in Trinidad and Tobago and she's impressed by what she's seen so far. Carolina Morache, who is the new head coach of the senior women's football team and technical director of the entire women's program, says she's utterly impressed by the players she's interacted with. Morache started a one-week camp on Monday with local players as well as some of those based overseas, as she begins to shape her senior team.
I'm surprised, two things surprised me. First of all, some of them, they did some tests that Betty and the physical trainer, they look each other and they say, oh wow, it's not possible. Another thing that surprised me in positive is the attitude of the players. So they are enjoying, I have their attention, they want to learn, and they learn quick.
On a similar note, David John Williams pleaded for support for the historic program. He urged for a more positive approach to be taken towards the association as it tries to restore pride to football. As for the women's teams, in an effort to compensate for the absence of competitive fixtures in 2017, the association would have to find a number of friendlies in order for Morache to measure progress, beginning with a possible match in March.
It's our intention in one of the games in the World Cup qualifiers between Panama and Mexico to play the Ecuador national team after the World Cup qualifier against Mexico. We have already written to Ecuador in that regard to see if that we could have a return match. I spoke to Carolina about it and she says that's enough time to prepare the team. So our initial thoughts of having to play Ecuador on the same day we play Mexico or Panama. As I say, FIFA does not allow a curtain raiser. We still have to get permission to see if we can play a doubleheader on that game. That day, if we do get the permission from FIFA, it could be a bumper match.
John Williams also mentioned the importance of establishing a league where female players can remain active and where more players can be scouted. But to supplement that, he spoke of plans to contract women players for the very first time in our history.
The sooner the better for us. Carolina is evaluating the players right now, and maybe she will shortlist about 25 to 26 players. And as soon as we get that shortlist, we will put things in motion for that because we really want to have the program very serious.
The news of his appointment still hasn't sunk in for some in Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean. But Sol Campbell, the former England international, is eager about the chance to come here as assistant Soca Warriors coach. He said he was very open to the decision as it comes at the most opportune time in his foray into management.
So for me, it was not hard for me to say yes. Or it was just structure. How can I, how can we make it work? And then it's just about compromising. But for me, Dennis is a fantastic guy, experience. Obviously, with Martinez, and he must have gained a hell of a lot of experience there. And for him to get the top job is an excellent appointment. So for me to assist him was great. I just had to organise the structure.
And that was your sport for today.
Well, that brings us to the end of the C News Report at noon. I'm Rishi Harinanan.
And I'm Nasira Mohammed.
Remember, for up-to-date and breaking news throughout the day, you can visit our C News website at ctvtt.com. Have a good afternoon.